So, welcome to Season 1, Episode 2 of AI in Healthcare, Silo550.
Michael Cooper is a longtime medical device guy that came up through ranks of engineering and got into R&D and rose up to the top of that. And then to make people's lives really miserable, he jumped over into marketing. Well, I'm going to let you tell us about Factor 7 because neither Mark or I know anything about Factor 7 other than what's on your website.
Sure. So Factor 7 is a network of about 400 plus med tech consultants. And through our network, all of us have done and been in the med tech field, particularly medical device, for many, many years. So we have specialties really in orthopedics and in cardio, but we also cover wound care, biologics, healthcare IT, and really everything. It's a one-stop shop. So you come to us if you're a startup and you'd like help developing and setting up your business and going out and figuring out how you develop your pitch deck and find investors. We can help with that. We do product development, marketing services, strategy, C-suite, fractional help, all the way to reimbursement and commercialization, and we can even supplement your sales force. So because we're all have been in this field for a while, we come in, we hit the ground running.
Or did you just stand outside the door of Zimmer one day and start handing out contracts, or how did you get to 400?
It's really people we've known and worked with throughout the years. And so it just keeps expanding. And when those people start working with us and they know other people, and it's sort of like a whole LinkedIn thing, it just keeps expanding. And you'd be surprised how many people you actually know in this industry.
I think, Patrick, the fact that they have 400 consultants and such a wide spectrum, and you and I are not on it, we should feel left out.
You know, I do. I can't believe I've missed this boat. Let's get it going.
We can solve this problem.
We can get you to 800 consultants by the end of this podcast, I think. We'll start floating a WW bar across the bottom, and we'll watch the calls come in like some kind of, dialing for dollars thing or something.
Hey, I gotta ask you, since the focus of this podcast is AI in healthcare, specifically, and how it might affect engineering. What do you think about that? Do you think it's going to have a big impact? Where do you think it's going to have an impact? If I were an engineer now, say 30 years old, should I be worried, or should I just embrace it and go with it? What do you think? I know you've taken some courses on this, right?
I have. I've taken and continue to take courses. I try to find the free ones that are on the internet. I've taken a couple of, when I first started getting into AI, it's like, okay, everybody's talking about this, but I really don't know what's going on. So I said, I better take some intro courses here. And so I took something called ChatGPT for Everyone, done by Learn Prompting. And then I also took AI Workplace Proficiency. It's done by Superhuman AI. And then I also took data analytics is one of the big things. Engineers deal with vast amounts of data. So it's like, well, this AI is supposed to be really good at dealing with data, doing things that's going to take me too long to do. So I took this course called ChatGPT for Data Analytics. It's done, you can find it on YouTube. It's done by a guy named Luke Barousse. And it was really excellent. It really told you how data analysis people can go in and just really split up the data, analyze it, find trends, and they're doing it all through courses, things like ChatGPT and a lot of the AI tools. And the speed at which it can do it is just truly amazing. Things that would take us days to get through, the computers are doing it in literally less than an hour, and it's just truly amazing what it can do.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. So I don't know. I was doing some reimbursement work. I needed some CMS data, and so I went on CMS website, pulled up the data I was needing off their website, and it's about 2 gigs worth of data. All right, well, what am I going to do with 2 gigs worth of data? Excel doesn't read that. So I went into ChatGPT, to the data analytics tool there, the GPT for that. And I said, look, I need to get 2 gigs of data. Excel won't read it. I can't find anything that reads it. Can you help me? And the thing actually told me how to split up the data so that I could get access to it. It programmed the Python code to help me do that. And it got it into file structures that ChatGPT data analytics tool would take. And then once it was there, I told it what I was looking for, and it made an Excel spreadsheet for me, graphed it, and gave me exactly what I needed. And literally, it took me maybe an hour to do all that. And when I ran into problems, it would give me, when it was programming Python, I kept running into an error. I just gave it a screenshot of the error, and it said, oh, I know what to do with this. And it fixed the Python code for me.
Gee whiz.
It was truly amazing. And that's when I started realizing how powerful this really could be for an engineer.
How do you see this for engineers? Do you see this as just taking the beginning jobs away, or do you see this as everyone's going to be using it, and really engineers aren't going to go away, but they're just going to be more powerful? Right.
I don't think engineers are going away. I don't see this as a replacement for any human, honestly. The coding isn't perfect. It does speed things up for certain. And if you are an engineer or in any profession and you're not picking up and learning something about AI, at least getting intro into it, you're going to be behind in the curve, and you could be replaced by people who do know it, because it's going to make you much more efficient. It's going to take a lot of the tasks that you do, some that were very time-consuming tasks, and it's going to streamline those tasks to allow you to do more. But the thing still makes mistakes. As good as it is, I've had it read a document. It was a reimbursement document, for instance, and it made up its own code that wasn't even in the document, and gave me a report that says, this is the code you should be using. This is going to do such and such. And I was like, I don't remember seeing that code when I scanned through. So I'm looking through. It's like, well, this code doesn't exist. And I told it, I said, why did you lie to me and make up a code? And it went, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. It's like, well, I mean, if you just take it at blind faith, right, and you told your boss that, well, I mean, it gets ridiculous, right? He's going to think you're crazy. So it takes a human to interpret what it's giving you. I know my twin boys are both getting PhDs. They do a lot of programming in Python for engineering. And they say for coding, it doesn't help them at all. It doesn't do it accurately for what they're trying to do. And they do computational fluid dynamics. And they said it finds the most obscure way to program, and not usually the most streamlined way that they do it.
At some point, it's going to get better, right?
Oh yeah. Sure.
And so now we've got to talk about the pace of this. What do you see the pace coming at?
The pace is extremely rapid, at least right now. I mean, it is going gangbusters. There's something new every day. In fact, I subscribe to a daily newsletter from Superhuman AI, and it goes through all the newest things that just happened in the AI world. It's called Superhuman, and it's done by Superhuman AI. It's done by a guy named Zane Khan, Kahn. And I read it every day. I actually save it because the tools it gives me is like, okay, I don't know what to do with that now, but I figure I will in a couple of more weeks.
So Michael, tell us about which AIs you're using now and why. If you can give us any tips on sort of how to focus right now, would be helpful, because
there's so much, and there's not really good data that I found yet on what is the best and what's not the best. And everybody wants you to pay for the membership, and you could run yourself bankrupt probably pretty quickly if you applied to everything. So what I've narrowed down to and what I use almost on a daily basis, like most people, is the Chat GPT, and I do pay for their premium service, the Plus service. About to go to the Enterprise service because I need to lock down some privacy on some data that I'm using with it. And then I use a variety of GPTs within Chat GPT, like Canva, advanced data analysis tools, presentation and diagram generation. There's a really good tool for taking scientific papers and summarizing them for you. It's called SciSpace, SCI Space. In fact, my boys use that quite frequently for their PhD work. So those are the main ones that I use. I mean, ChatGPT integrates with so many different GPTs. It's really hard to go wrong with that one. And if you use the deep search function on it, it's really astounding how good it is. But you do have to be careful because I've had it hallucinate on me. I've had it find things that just don't exist. Actually, I was updating my resume and it just made up stuff that I'd never even had before.
Wow.
That's hilarious. Is that a Factor 7 medical requirement?
No. No, in fact, we have very stringent rules on allowing our consultants to use AI. It's that is just not the way you want to do it. It can streamline it can streamline and make you more productive, but you just can't rely on it.
Right.
So I use the Enterprise Chat GPT myself. I also subscribe to Claude and Grok, and I just got an offer that they could bundle all of those, including DeepSeek, for an actually lower enterprise number than I'm currently using just for Chat GPT.
Wow.
So these are they're all sort of in some ways working together in a constellation. They seem to have different strengths for each one, but the one I use certainly the most is just like you, is Chat GPT version 5.
Yep. The one I haven't seen yet someone do is I haven't seen an intellectual property lawyer tell us how good AI is at going through patents. I use it for summary, but I'm just a novice compared to those guys. And, that'd be really interesting because I think a lot of engineers use the AI tools to just go through and cipher through the patents.
And I'm already hearing that those hiring entities have not hiring until they figure it out. They don't know how many they're going to need. They don't know really what AI impact is going to be. And I'm just curious, have you heard anything like that on the engineering side as far as companies slowing down yet?
Well, I think, the economy with the way it's been, there's certainly a slowdown in just acquiring talent across the board. But I don't think it's due to AI. In fact, I've not heard any companies holding back the hiring of engineers per se because of AI. And a lot of companies are very leery about allowing their employees to use AI because it's open, right? Unless they've got an enterprise license that locks everything down, or they've made their own. I know like ABB has made their own AI system. It's called Abby. And that's what their employees are allowed to use. And it's locked down, it's locked there and secure so their data doesn't get out. So I think companies don't really know what to do with it yet, but that doesn't stop the need for business, the need to drive revenue and quarterly earnings by any means. So they're still hiring, and I don't think they should ever stop. I just think they'll figure out that some things can get more efficient. I do think customer service people probably initially are at the most risk just because the AI agents are getting really good at answering phones.
Well, we've seen what AI has done in radiology. Where else do you see AI being utilized in medical devices and products and services?
Well, certainly imaging. I think cardiology, certainly, everything from EEGs and ECGs, EKGs, sorry, to and comparing the waves to each other and looking for anomalies there. I do see a lot of doctors that are probably utilizing that for certain diagnoses. You can't rely on it. None of them would rely on it, but they are certainly narrowing down some things and driving some data through tests that they've run and taking that data and getting it to summarize a lot of that. Elsewhere in healthcare, I mean, it's going to infiltrate everywhere in healthcare, right? There's just no stopping it.
I had a meeting earlier with another company. Their focus is in privacy protection, specifically protected health information, PHI, in all forms within the medical world.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got something coming out later this year, which I think will have great applicability to many of us, especially those that deal directly with any kind of patient information, clinical studies, which I know you've been involved in, and they said it works like a smoke detector works in that it basically analyzes all of your communication and sniffs out PHI. So if there's any PHI, either at the superficial or the meta level, it works like a smoke detector. It'll go off. And I think that's a very useful tool because we both know, you with your experience, and I know Patrick with him, that every day information goes back and forth between surgeries, hospitals, critical care areas, and then in the industry side that has patient names, PHI all over the place.
I think AI, if you have to summarize where it's being used first, it's where the consequences of an error are either it's inconsequential or there's oversight to allow you to, tweak it. And also where you can, if you create software, you can go back and run tests on it and identify the areas that need to be tweaked or redone.
Yeah. No, I think that's a takeaway statement, Patrick. Well, but the underlying question everybody's sitting around the deal table is, what's in it for me?
Right. Yeah.
And the question about AI is, how's it going to affect me and my livelihood?
Where are you using it the most today, and where do you see it the most impactful?
Analyzing and finding trends in large amounts of data, or taking a 900-page document and having it summarize it for me to the important points. Important emails, papers I got to write, I run it through that. And quite honestly, I use it in areas that you probably shouldn't use it for, just like I use it like Google. Honestly, right? It's quick, it's easy, and it helps me, right? And that's what I think AI is. It's something to help me. It's not something to replace me. And it's something to make me more efficient.
The new oil field is big data. And I've heard that echoed in this conversation today when you were talking about how do you use AI? I use it to organize large amounts of data and make it usable.
I'm just a novice at this, just starting to learn it as a older professional. On the back end of this, I felt like I needed to understand it. I felt I'd be left behind if I didn't. And the more I've gotten into it, I'm just really enthralled with it. It really can help a lot of people, make your life easier, streamline a lot of what you're doing, and stop wasting time on that stuff that just really doesn't add a lot of value to your life.
So I'm holding a book that a friend of mine gave me this week, and it's called The War of Art. Not the art of war, which he knows I know well, but it's called The War of Art. And it's written by a guy named Stephen Pressfield. And although it's essentially about creativity, I think, and one of the things that it says is never wait for the perfect moment. Go ahead and just jump in.
Mm-hmm.
And he also talks about everything has a wall of resistance, and the only way to get through that is to just act like a professional. Don't wait for the right mood. Just do it. And I think AI helps me just do it. Not to steal the phrase from Nike. Right. And in any of your courses that you've taken or anything, are you ever afraid of AI, of what it might do? You don't sound like you are intimidated at all.
No, engineers have a unique capability of just taking on new technology all the time and figuring out what to do with it. And so that stuff doesn't bother me. When finite element analysis first came on board, oh, it's going to end testing forever and it's going to do all these things. Well, okay, it didn't do all those things. You still got to validate it. You still got to interpret it. AI is no different. You got to figure it out, and you got to use a moral compass with it. First of all, thanks for having me, guys. I've enjoyed the conversation. I've really enjoyed starting to learn about AI. Still got a long ways to go, like how you get the workflow connected and make it automatic rather than copy and pasting it into a bunch of different areas. So that's my next step in figuring things out. As far as Factor 7 is concerned, we're med tech professionals, been in it for years and years, and we've all know each other. So we're here to help other med tech inventors or companies help get their product to market, solve their problems, and provide them fractional solutions or permanent solutions on a permanent basis, however they'd like. But
Great.
Awesome.
Well, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Mike. Great.